Yo, it's your girl Z, aka Zalia. Welcome back to my podcast, Wonders of the Human Experience. We got episode 12. Ooh, I'm excited about this. This episode is Surrender the Outcome, Trust the Process. And I just want to share, my perspectives, because I'm currently going through a process right now where I'm trusting my spirit, trusting my higher self, and trusting the divine, trusting source, and trusting my ancestors and my spirit team on a whole other level. I've done it before, right? I've walked out on faith before, but this right here, this shit's different, and I need to talk about it. But without further ado, let's get right on into it. All right, so let's start with this. Learn how to release the outcome of what you think you want and have the sense of directness, the sense of focus, the blueprint of where you want to go, but not overdoing it when it comes to the outcome you think you want. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of times we'll get the things we ask for, right? We'll get it, right? Once that manifestation comes through and we actually receive it, I don't know about y'all, but I've manifested things and I've been like, I don't actually want that. Like, that's not what I actually thought that I wanted for real. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I've had those moments so many times in my life in the past, just being like, yeah, I have to have that. I have to have it this way. I have to have it that way. And now I'm in the process of, like I said, surrendering, trusting, building that trust, within myself, my spirit, my higher self, but also with the divine, the source, God, my ancestors, my spirit team. Because here's the thing. When you understand that you are in a constant process of remembrance, you only have the awareness of what you think you want, right? Until it actually manifests, you don't actually really genuinely know a lot of times what you really want for real. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, we don't truly have an understanding of what's a possibility or a highest possibility because of that process of remembering ourselves. You know what I'm saying? And the thing about trusting the divine, trusting, source, trusting God, trusting our ancestors and our spirit team, our higher selves, is understanding that we are co-creating with them. We are co-creating with our higher selves. And here's something that, some people may not even know. What if I told you that your higher self, your spirit, what if I told you that your ancestors, your spirit guides, what if I told you the divine source, they know you way better, and I mean 20 times better than you know yourself, especially with you learning from your experience and you going through that process of remembering. You don't quite fully know everything as much as you could on the level that they know it, right? So this is what happens when you understand that you're co-creating with them. That means you have to release control. You have to release trying to always, control the outcome of what you think may be the best. The gag is they know what best possible outcomes is fitting for us, for our purpose, for our destiny. They know. They truly know. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you have to understand that you're not alone in this, right? And I remember I was watching, a TikTok about this guy, he was talking about how he doesn't really like this ideal of going with the flow, because it seems like people are just floating around and they're too high up in the spiritual realms and they're not actually being intentional. But that's the thing with going with the flow. You have to be intentional about releasing control. You have to be intentional about trusting and knowing that whatever the outcome is going to be, it's of your highest and all good. You have to not only have faith, but you have to have that knowing. You know what I'm saying? And that takes intention. That takes a lot of focus and you just truly having that faith. You know what I'm saying? And it's like when we learn to surrender, to listen, and to just be open to what our spirit, what our higher selves, what God, our ancestors, our spirit team, what they want to show us and how they want to show up, it just opens us up to many different possibilities that we could not have even fathomed if we didn't just simply trust in them. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like for me, most importantly, I come from, a place where growing up, I had to learn how to control things. I had to learn how to rely on myself. I had to learn how to be more independent and how to be more my sovereignty for the sake of, almost kind of like protecting myself, but knowing where I'm going. It's that sense of direction. You know what I'm saying? But then it became to a point where I was over controlling. I was always trying to control everything and not really wanting to trust what they had to say. Because I'm thinking, man, shoot, they don't know me better than I know me. Like, man, please. Like, you know what I'm saying? I was saying stuff like that. I was thinking stuff like that. Like 2 years ago, a year ago, I was thinking like, man, I can't just fucking, walk out on faith like that, man. Y'all, let me tell y'all a story. So I want to say around the same time last year, man, no, actually not around the same time, but sometime last year, I was living in a different household with family that I'm currently on no contact with. Very, very dysfunctional household. There was a lot of different kinds of abuse going on, and overall, it was draining my spirit, right? And I remember I kept getting these messages about how, there's going to be a moment where I'm going to have an opening to leave, but it's not going to show up in a conventional way, a way that I think is best. And, I'm like, okay, cool. Like, okay, I can somewhat kind of grasp that. Man, I was not prepared to really understand what that truly meant, because the day that it came, where that unconventional movement came, I actually had the opportunity to simply pack my bags, right? And here's how it went. I remember it clearly. Like, I had got up and I remember my mom was blowing up my phone. She was texting me crazy things, calling me lazy, calling me all these. She was kind of like low-key bullying me in a way, right? And then she came home after she was done running errands, and she came up immediately. She came upstairs, she came in my room, started, pretty much bombarding me with all these things and saying, just making all these assumptions like, oh, you ain't this and you ain't that, pretty much. And, kind of like blaming me in a way for like her problems and things that she had going on. It was a lot, right? And I remember this one thing that she said to me. She was like, if you don't want to be here so bad, why are you here? She said that. And I said, you know what? You right. And I kid y'all not, I heard this voice in my head that said, Z, you can go. You can leave. And I was like, what the fuck? And I kid y'all not, I didn't have nothing set up. I had nothing planned. I had no way of knowing how I was going to, find a place to stay. I just listened to that voice, because at that moment, anything was better than being in that environment. Being homeless was 20 times better than being in that environment where they're literally draining the living shit out my soul. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna bet on this voice that I'm hearing. So I packed all my stuff up. It took hours, right, of me packing my stuff up, and it got to a point where I was almost done getting all my stuff out, and they locked the damn door on me. They locked me out the house because my stepdad was saying how he didn't like how, I was talking to them, even though all I was doing was being honest and truthful, as I normally am, being very honest, being very truthful about their actions, their behaviors. And he definitely don't like when I ever do that, right? Neither of them do. I didn't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? Because who are you to think that you can speak to me and treat me the way that you want and think that it's okay? No, I always felt like I could stand up for myself. So that's what I was doing. And he locked the door, right? They locked the door. And I told them, if you don't open this door, I'm going to call the police. I'm going to call the cops, right? So that's what I did. They thought I was bluffing. The cops get there. I let them know, like, hey, I'm trying to, get my stuff. They're locking me outside. I need to get the rest of my belongings so I can, get up out of here. So the cop was able to talk to them. Short blank period. I got my stuff back, right? I got majority of my stuff outside the house. So then it came down to I'm texting some people. I text like my actual father, and he gave me my grandmother's number, and I'm like, okay, cool. This is cool. I'll call her, give her a call, and tell her what's going on and see what happens. She ended up not answering the phone, so I was like, okay, that's fine. I'm not really too concerned. I know whatever's gonna happen, it's gonna work out. You know what I'm saying? And they were telling me, my guides were telling me, make a video, post it on my TikTok, and pretty much just share with the world about what's going on. And a lot of people were very surprised because people thought that I came from a background where I wasn't going through anything. And it was like, I would only tell certain people about stuff that I was going through, because I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty heavy, and I don't just kind of just tell people as I'm going through it unless I really trust you. You know what I'm saying? But afterwards, I'm able to talk about these experiences, in cases, I can inspire people. So, eventually, long story short, my grandma called me back. She was able to open her doors for me. And, I bawled like a baby. I cried my eyes out, because I never knew how much peace I could genuinely feel just by being in an environment where I'm actually welcomed. I actually feel safe. I'm not walking on eggshells. I don't feel like I'm being constantly targeted. And it was such a huge relief for me. And it was all because I listened to that inner voice. And mind y'all, I haven't spoken to this side of the family in over a decade. I haven't talked to these people in so long. So not only was this, a choice for me to, rekindle some things, but this was like a completely different way of like how I had a sense of like walking out on faith. And I shared this with people on my TikTok, because I want to say I had waited, one day I slept in my sister's car. Thankfully, she let me sleep in the back of her car for that one night. I didn't even cry. You know what I'm saying? I slept there for one night, and then, the very next day, my biological father was helping me gather, a few of my stuff, and I went straight to my grandma's house. So, there will be certain things you have a sense of direction, a sense of, where you're headed, where you're going, but you truly never know what is the best opportunity. And when you learn how to surrender, you learn how to let go, and you learn how to not be so over controlling of the outcomes, it really does open you up to so many different possibilities. And I promise you, when we do these things, not only are we strengthening our connection to the divine, to our higher selves, and our spirit team and our ancestors, but we are really unlocking this part of us that becomes not fearful of trusting in the unknown, trusting in a spiritual sense of trusting energy, trusting that things will shift no matter what. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of like the thesis of this whole thing. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, like I was someone that I've always had to 100% rely on myself. And I started to realize that it was creating this imbalance within myself. I was my masculine energy was very much so, overpowered in a sense. Like I was overusing it, and I didn't really have a sense of how can I allow my feminine aspect, my yang accent, my yin, aspect, my intuition side, my ability to trust and to allow things to flow in a very divine alignment way. Ooh, excuse me. Burp for confirmation. Ooh, another burp for confirmation. But I didn't really have like a balance within my feminine energy because I was always in my masculine energy because of me wanting to be overly controlling and always wanting to control the outcomes. And once I started to be like, you know what, okay, I'm gonna surrender. I'm gonna see what happens. I'm gonna give, you know what people be like, I'm gonna give this up to God. I'm gonna give this to God. That shit's real. It's so real. You know what I'm saying? It's a great reminder that we aren't alone. We are never truly alone. Even in the moments where I wasn't even as aware as I am now, I still had moments when I didn't know how certain things were going to work out, but they worked out in miraculous ways that I was not expecting, all because I wasn't trying to control how it showed up. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of nice to surrender and allow them to really show up for us, for them to show up in miraculous ways that we don't expect. It's really nice to know that I don't have to do it all by myself. I don't have to do this alone. I don't have to be by myself. I have so much spiritual support. I'll say it. We have so much spiritual support that wants to guide us, that wants to help us. It's just a matter of us releasing control, disconnecting and detaching from, things that we think that we want, and just being simply open. Just be open, guys, to miraculous things, and have the knowing that it can happen, it will happen, and it has already been happening for you, whether you are aware of it or not. And like I said, you have your sense of directness, you have your map, you have the blueprint. You are the blueprint. You are not just not being intentional when it comes to surrendering and going with the flow. And people say being obedient to your spirit, to your soul, to your ancestors, to God, you know what I'm saying, your spirit team, to actually being open to listening to them and what they have to say, what they have to tell us, and know that whatever it is that they're saying, just because we might not be able to contemplate how we think that's a possible outcome, or how we think, like I remember they told me, where I'm going to go for my next destination. I'm like, what? I was never even considering that. Like, what do you mean travel that far? Like, what? That's kind of insane. And then, I started contemplating. I'm like, well, why not? Why can't, something miraculous like that happen? Why can't something as big of a leap, why can't that happen to me? Why can't, you know what I'm saying? Why can't I be open to many different possibilities? Like, really ask yourself these things and, get to the root as far as why we have these beliefs, these perspectives regarding, natural abilities that we possess when we simply let go and we trust and we have our faith. And it's like, let them show you. Let the universe show you. Let God show you. Let them show up. Like, you can sit down, you can talk with them, but let them show you. Let them show you that you're not alone. You don't have to do this by yourself. Let them show you, and watch how surprised you be with the results you get. But yeah, this was, pretty much everything that I wanted to say about surrendering and trusting the process. And I want to reassure you that everything is working out in your favor, regardless if you can understand that right now or when it actually manifests for you. Know that things have always worked out for you. When has it never worked out for you? You are always being divinely guided, divinely protected, and know that you are loved. You are loved by so many people that you cannot quite fathom just how truly loved you are. And know that you have the support you need, even if it doesn't show up in a physical manner how you think it should. Because sometimes people may think that, people the closest to them is supposed to be the support system. Whole time, it'll be people that you don't talk to anymore. It'll be people that are strangers that are going to help you the most. It'll be people, a part of your soul family, people that you have yet to meet, that's going to help you the most versus, this theory that blood is thicker than water and that the blood relatives is going to help us and be there for us. Whole time, they be our biggest enemies most times. They be our biggest threats, right? They be our biggest bullies. So once you start to disconnect from certain things that we were taught and we were conditioned into believing, and, start believing in yourself again, start trusting yourself again and building that, man, you're going to unlock something. You're going to become unstoppable, and you're going to become so in tune within yourself that it doesn't matter what you go through. You're protected. You are highly favored, and that everything is always working out for you. And once again, when has it never worked out for you? But with that being said, that is everything. I love y'all so much, and if you have any questions, if you want to share anything, if this helps you, let me know, guys. Let me know. I love the engagement, and if you have any questions you need to ask me, feel free to comment down below. Share this with someone that you feel like may need it as well, and I'll definitely see y'all on the next. Peace.